Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Kierwiński. Poland has closed its border with Belarus on midnight as joint Russian-Belarusian Zapad military drills kicked off in neighboring Belarus. The joint exercise is aimed directly at Poland and the European Union and includes aggressive war scenarios, Polish Interior Minister Marcin Kierwiński has said.
The border may be reopened, but only when we are certain that Polish citizens are safe and not threatened by provocations or acts of aggression. We will continue to assess the situation and may decide to restore border traffic when conditions allow. This decision is entirely about Polish security and will remain in effect as long as necessary. Any indication of a threat to Poland or our citizens will keep the closure in place.
The joint Russia-Belarus Zapad 2025 military drills have kicked off in Belarusian territory. The war games are set to take place between the 12th and the 16th of September and partially overlap with a NATO exercise led by Germany. The Russia-Belarus drills will involve practicing the use of nuclear weapons and intermediate-range missiles, according to the Belarusian defense minister. The Zapad 2025 war games in part overlap with the NATO Quadriga 2025 military exercise in the Baltic Sea, led by Germany alongside 13 Western allies. The goal of the NATO drills is troops and weapons deployment training, Germany's defense chief Carsten Bauer has said, adding that, and I quote, "We want to deter. We don't want an escalation. We're exclusively training for defense. Moscow uses Zapad to stoke insecurity, among other things." End of quote. The start of the Zapad drills comes after Russia violated the Polish airspace with 19 drones on Wednesday, some of which were shot down with the help from NATO allies. Director of the Asia Research Center at the Kazimierz Pularski Foundation, Roy Johnson, said, and I quote, "This is Belarus playing a very dangerous game," while describing the Russian-Belarusian Zapad military exercises. He emphasized that at the same time, the Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko aims to strengthen his position by acting as middleman between the Russian Federation and the United States.
If you look at the numbers compared to the previous exercise, which was around 200,000, the numbers look anemic, but it's very dangerous because now we've had the war's been ongoing now for more than 3.5 years, and we've had this situation just on Tuesday night, Wednesday, with the drones coming into Poland. This is Belarus on one side. Belarus playing this very dangerous game of, we're hosting the Russians over here, but we're releasing hostages over there. But the proximity is bound to be something that's combustible. He wants the job he had in 2014, 2015 back, the Minsk agreements, where he was the interlocutor between the Ukrainians and the Russians. And he wants to go back to this, only this time he wants to be the middleman between the U.S. and Russia. And the United States realizes everything. He knows so much about the ongoing activities daily in the Kremlin. And he wants this back, and then he wants these guarantees of, the U.S. will not sponsor someone to overthrow him, he'll get sanctions relief, etc. So it's him playing this double game.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said the Russian drone incursion into Poland might have been a mistake, as he addressed reporters before boarding Marine One. Trump's comments come as his push for peace in Ukraine is being impeded by Putin's confrontational attitude.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake. But regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with that whole situation. But hopefully it's going to come to an end.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski met in Kiev with the British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. The parties discussed the situation in Ukraine and security on NATO's eastern flank in the context of the Russian drone attack on Poland. Our correspondent Oskar Teji reports on the diplomatic activity unfolding in Kiev.
A flurry of intense diplomatic activity has been taking place in Kyiv over the last 24 hours, starting with the visit from the US Special Envoy to Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, visiting President Zelensky on Thursday evening. Friday, we have had the arrival of Radoslaw Sikorski, Poland's foreign minister, and also the new foreign secretary of the United Kingdom, Yvette Cooper, meeting with Zelensky and Sikorski, having further discussions about that unprecedented Russian drone attack on Polish territory. Now, Radoslaw Sikorski released a video statement outside the Polish embassy. Let's take a quick listen to that.
On the night 19 drones flew into Poland, 400 entered Ukraine, plus 40 missiles. This was no mistake.
So discussions are ongoing in Kyiv as European nations and Ukraine try to formulate a meaningful response to Russia's drone incursion onto Polish territory. Meanwhile, over the last 24 hours, 6 people have been killed and 26 injured in further Russian attacks on Ukrainian territory. So that is obviously going to be quite high up on the Ukrainian agenda for these talks as well. It's Oz Chatterjee reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
During an interview with TVP World, Jan Brzeziński, senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, said the recent drone incursion was aimed at determining whether NATO has the will to fight, adding that we are not passing that test. He emphasized that the incursion was intentional.
That's not a mistake. That's an intentional barrage to test the transatlantic relationship, but specifically to test the U.S. commitment to the alliance and to Poland. And all we get is a tweet. It's a blatant test of it, and right now we're not passing that test.
So what is?
I mean, passing that test is easy to do in light of the alliances. The U.S. is overmatched in power when it comes to Russia. I mean, it would take a snap of a finger. It would take a little leadership from President Trump to all of a sudden get the transatlantic community to impose massive, body-slamming economic sanctions to shut down Russia's war economy, its ability to economically sustain this invasion of Ukraine. The Europeans are cocked up and ready to do that. They're just looking for the United States. What needs to happen is the transatlantic community, with American leadership, needs to exercise a muscle movement that convinces Putin that that the West has the will to fight and is ready and is going to exercise that overmatching power it has militarily, economically, and ideologically. And when we hesitate to do that, we embolden Putin. And when we fail to do that, we're weakening our own interests. And the first to fall, of course, will be Ukraine, but Ukraine won't be the last target.
Russia has reportedly come under one of the largest overnight drone attacks since the start of the full-scale war, with Moscow and the St. Petersburg region among the areas targeted. So far, these claims could not be independently verified. The Russian Defense Ministry said 221 drones were intercepted across several regions. In the St. Petersburg region, officials said around 30 drones were shot down, with debris falling near St. Petersburg itself. The regional governor claimed fires broke out at the Primorsk port and a pumping station. Both are now reportedly extinguished. In Moscow, the local mayor said 9 drones were downed, while residents reported blasts west of the capital. Smolensk residents also shared footage of a large fire, allegedly at a Lukoil facility, though this has yet to be officially confirmed. The Ukrainian military hasn't commented so far on the reported strikes. Thousands gathered in Slovakia's capital to protest Prime Minister Robert Fico's meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, condemning his pro-Russia stance and government austerity plans. On Thursday, demonstrators filled Bratislava's SNP Square, chanting "Shame, shame," and "We had enough of Fico." The protests escalated after the Prime Minister's recent trip to China, where he joined President Xi Jinping's military parade, marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II in the Pacific. He also held talks in Beijing with Vladimir Putin, the third meeting between the leaders since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Fico was the only EU leader to attend the event, further fueling public discontent. His earlier meetings with Putin took place in Moscow, while he never visited Kiev or war-affected regions of Ukraine. Protesters also denounced the government's austerity program, accusing Fico of isolating Slovakia within the European Union. In the wake of the recent Russian drone incursion into NATO airspace, Poland's Interior Ministry is issuing advice on how citizens can respond in the future and be better prepared for unexpected threats. Maciej Wilowski has more.
Authorities in Poland are advising citizens on how to respond to aerial and hybrid threats. Poland's Interior Ministry Office for the Podlassia region, located in northeastern Poland along the Belarusian border, issued a statement in response to recent drone strikes.
The ministry urges residents to stay calm, actively monitor communications from national authorities, and not fall victim to emotional distress, manipulation, and disinformation. Authorities ask residents to steer clear of debris from objects of unknown origin, avoid touching and moving these objects, and to report uninformed personnel about these sightings.
The regional government of Lubusz region in western Poland issued its own advice on handling drones.
It doesn't matter whether it's a civilian or military drone. Report it to the authorities. There are well-trained military units and police pyrotechnics who can examine these objects and determine whether or not they are dangerous. I repeat, let's leave it to the professionals and not make any rash decisions.
While there were no casualties or injuries during Wednesday morning's drone strikes, crashing drones can pose a significant risk to civilians.
So we had for sure two types of drones, so decoy drones and drones that most likely were armed. Decoy drones are not armed. Doesn't mean that they do not pose a threat or no risk to the civilians, because they fly with significant speed. Because of that and because of their weight, they do pose significant kinetic power.
While thankfully no lives were lost during the recent drone strikes in Poland, it's always best to be prepared and respond appropriately in case of similar incidents in the future. For TVP World, I'm Maciej Wilowski.
And that's all for now on this news bulletin. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news, updates and commentary.